Hello, everybody. Excuse me. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Roundtable with Ron and Ben. And we also have our special guest with us today, Michelle. So we're in our continuing series of getting an update of our transformation, our Extreme Makeover Transformation Trader Edition. This is just going to be a really quick, basically a recap. I'm picking up from last week, from Friday, because we didn't do an update, and we'll talk about, well, not a whole lot happened today, so it's going to be kind of quick, and we'll see what comes out of it. So with that, before we get going, if everybody is in here can just hit the like button, that'd be great. It will help the algorithm and help push things out there as well. And let's bring Ben in here with me today. If I can get my bearings straight here. There you are. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ron.
How are you?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
Doing well. Had a pretty uneventful day today trading.
A little slow, for sure.
Yeah, a little slow. So we just won't really bore everybody with a bunch of dead silence. Let's bring the woman of the hour in to just join us. And there she is. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Good morning. Good, thanks, yourself.
So let's see. So let's recap really quickly because we didn't talk much on Friday. You had posted something where you had your 3 trades, I believe. It was that on Friday? Did you do that?
Oh, I think that was Friday. So much has happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that was Friday, and I think it was in. Yeah. Was it? Sorry. Yes, I've got it here. It was RTY, RTY, RTY.
Okay. So
I missed the YM one because it was the same time as RTY, 90407 RTY, and YM was 90402.
Okay. Do you have the screenshot that you?
I don't think I posted a screenshot. I'd have to bring it up. The only thing is, it'll slow down the data.
Then don't worry about it. Yeah. Then don't worry about it.
And I don't want to crash this. Okay.
Don't worry about it. I'm trying to remember. Were they trades that were valid trades? When did you take those trades? They were. Okay.
They were. Okay. So it was out of the dark zone. It was 90121, and I believe. So what I'll do for next time, I'll try bring up the. I'll go back and load the extra days because I'm only loading 1 day, so it's only bringing up from midnight for me, so it doesn't take up the resources on the PC.
Right, which is fine. I want to keep it that way for you because I don't want to bog down your computer. I was trying to see if we can kind of catch up for last week, but since we don't have it, then
do you have those charts up that you could just look at them? Do you have RT?
I do not. I don't have. Okay. Yeah, I don't have.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll get it ready for the next session. But those were the 3.
Okay. Yeah. So we can talk about that. As we go along, I'll try to get things more set up so that we have it, especially if we miss a day. So you don't have to worry about it, but when you basically have trades that you're posting to me, I'll try to keep those and then show them to everybody so we can kind of discuss it. But you did end up taking 3 trades, correct? That were all winners. Okay, great.
Yes.
So how has that been since you made the switch over from ES to RTY and YM?
So I thought about what you said, and I get the whole point that you want me to be able to see the setup. Once I see the setup, I could trade any market, as you rightfully say.
Right.
So I'm feeling more confident in that I can actually see it when I'm sitting at the chart and it's starting to set up. Like today, I came in a bit late, so I didn't trade, but I'm able to sit here and go, that's the setup, or that is not my setup. I've definitely had that change that I haven't traded, so I'm not worried. I haven't lost any money, so I'm actually happy. It's more that type of mindset. I haven't just taken any trade and blown my accounts. I've taken no trade, so I'm okay. It's all right. But I'm definitely seeing what not is my setup. But I do have one question.
Okay.
And my question is, so over the weekend, I also watched some more of the boot camp. I went back over Sniper and watched all of Daryl's videos again. Daryl, in his videos and in his 12-month plan, he takes, like trapped Xbox, filter trapped Xboxes with DR. You know, my question is, why am I not taking those? Because that's one of the setups. Or are we just honing in on one for now?
Let me jump in here, Ron.
Hmm.
So the sniper system went live like right at the start of coronavirus, like 2 years ago. Was it 3 years ago? I don't know. It's been a while, and the market conditions were different back then. Like when I first started trading sniper, I was doing like the filter TXs and all the other. They have a bunch of other like setups, and I did like really well. But over time, market conditions have changed. And during my course of being with Apex, like I've been lucky enough to be able to have the statistics on a lot of the setups. So after going through the setup, I mean, looking at hundreds, if not like thousands of trades, and having the statistics on all those trades. So like when in the mentor group, I tell people to focus on the Lorex mainly, and then HDD and ODD off a level, and then ETX trades. Those are like the four trades that I tell people to focus on. After knowing the statistics, like knowing a lot, not just 100 trades, not just 200 trades, but like back tested over like months and months and months. And so a lot of that training that you're watching is older trading, and like the Lorex isn't even in there in the original training, because as the sniper system has progressed and we've learned more about order prints on how things like perform, long term, like those are the setups that we've honed in on. And that's why, Lori was always trading the Lorex. She just didn't have a name for it. She was always trading like her setup, but it didn't have a name. So like the Lorex is kind of the culmination of order prints. And
And
so
also,
that's why we take that.
and also, sorry, Ben, it's kind of if you watch Thrive and where it
Hmm.
describes the lanes, the
Hmm.
Lorex is basically a sniper lane 4. Let's just, for all practical purposes. And even that today, the Lorex has its own lane setup as well, where I myself trade a lane 4 of a Lorex, and
Mm.
Ben does the same, right? That's kind of where we're at. So we take the best of the best to get to the Lorex, and then we even kind of tighten down the focal point to take the best of that setup as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So ideally, what's really important is to get the basics down, right? So you want to understand what the sniper setup is, so you familiarize yourself with 90% of the terminology and understanding everything that's going on, so that you don't get completely lost. Because if you jump in and you just get the Lorex, you're missing a huge part of the foundation of building our skyscraper, if we remember that analogy,
Hmm.
which means the whole thing will crumble where you think you get the Lorex, but you're really not going to understand the basics of it, and that's sniper, and why do things work or why do they not work?
Okay, that answers my question. One more question. So sometimes we have a setup on the Lorex. So I have my 20 and my 30s and my 10 charts. But sometimes you get a setup on the 10 that's a Lorex. to go short, but the uptrend is long on the 30. Do you totally ignore them?
Ben?
Sorry.
Well, it's it's a
I
kind
know.
of it's a
I want
loaded
to get
question.
this right. Yeah.
It's a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say to that is if you are trading YM and RTY,
Mm-hmm.
and say for example you are in a very strong simplicity long, and there is a Lorex on YM or RTY not coming off of a level, then I would err on the side of caution and avoid that trade. But now if you come up and it's coming off of a strong level on YM or RTY and you get a good signal that meets all of your conditions, then take it, because we know probability is on our side for
Mm-hmm.
that. But if it's not off a good level and it's in a strong, simplicity, then I, would probably avoid it. But the trade has all of the conditions, like your setup has 3 or 4 conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 4 and 5. I can't remember which. But we know that those are strong probability setups. So that should give us the confidence to take the trade.
Now,
Right.
in addition to that too, you have to remember one thing. Regardless of what happens with the 30 chart, that is a 30,000 foot view of the market, of what's happening at the time. The 10 tick is more of a focused zoom in look at what's happening within a very, very tight price range. Remember, you need 6 bars to close in the same direction to complete 130 tick bar chart, bar in a 30 tick chart. We're only trying to capture 10 ticks within that price movement. So if the Lorex builds up on the bottom of a 30 reversal,
Mm-hmm.
there's a good possibility, or probability I should say, that the trade will go in your favor, especially if it's bouncing off of a level, even if it's a strong trend of what appears to be on the 30. So again, there's other factors as well, but you got to remember, we're only trying to capture a small amount of it. So if you look at the setup, and the setup is basically building in the middle of the 30 bar, and again, you have to see what's happening live, but there may or may not be a TX on that 30 that you're going to work off of to get that TX to be one of the conditions that you need for your Lorex, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like using higher time frames, if you would, because we're using the 30 as a higher time frame, and the simplicity is even a higher time frame than that, but it's on a different market, but it gives us, because we know the markets somewhat correlate at some point. So it gives you an indication of what possibly could or could not go in either direction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have one more question, please.
Sure.
You've mentioned the simplicity chart. Should I be having that up and watching them? I've watched the rules on simplicity. I don't know if there's simplicity for YM and RTY, but should I be watching that as well?
There is simplicity for our RTY and YM. We don't really trade it. It doesn't move and breathe like the NQ simplicity does. And if you had it set up, you would understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You can set it up at a later date when you get more. Here's the thing. We need to make sure that we get your foundation solid before. In other words, we need to learn how to crawl, walk, run, sprint, kind of like in that order. And if simplicity is our sprint, we're still on the crawling stage of trying to build a foundation of getting sniper understood very well, transitioning into the Lorex to trade what we're trading, get comfortable with that where everything is done cold. And again, we need to basically get our 2 or 3 cycles of our mistake-free trades out of 25. Remember the 25 mistake-free. So we got to get through that before we start introducing other things. Because if you don't train yourself at the very beginning to at certain things and have it be completely like something that is subconscious. You don't have to think about it. You start including something else and you're focusing on, well, I need to focus on the simplicity chart, but you don't actually have everything naturally happening with Lorex. It's going to basically distract you from what you need to be doing. So it's always good to, it's, again, in simplicity, we're using it as a tool, but right now it just doesn't fit the job. So later on it will, and you can see how you can use it, but it doesn't always apply. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, just because you mentioned it, so I wanted to ask, and I watched the videos, so that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, once you familiarize yourself with everything that encompasses the Lorex and Sniper, and you understand everything literally cold, where you can just not even think about it, where it comes just by default instinctively, then you can focus on bringing on other tools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And simplicity would be one of them. Tick strike would be another one. I mean, there's so many things that, that they're out there. Remember, like we talked about, it's just like the chart and building the indicators. Just because it's there to your disposal doesn't mean you need to use it. And it would be the same thing if somebody was to start brand new from scratch, strip everything out of your chart and just start with one indicator that's Apex, learn that, see what it does, and then start layering on it until you get the entire, Sniper system on there. Then you can kind of transition over to Lorex. I think you kind of understand where I'm going with this, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Okay.
one of the things, so you have your chart set up where you're watching the OP bar build, right, on the 10 tick.
Mm-hmm.
So you're
Mm-hmm.
watching all the orders flow in, and that's really critical on watching how the market's moving, like especially on YM and RTY. Because if you watch it on ES, like how many contracts are you watching on ES?
Hundreds, thousands.
There's a lot of contracts on ES. So now we're transitioned to two different markets where how many contracts are you looking at on a bar?
It's like 10s and 20s, and it's
10s, 20s, 40s. So it's a stark difference.
Mm-hmm.
So if we threw, so like if we said, hey, Michelle, pull up simplicity and let's look at simplicity. And when this is like, and start throwing these, you wouldn't be focused on the building, as the orders are coming in, looking at the bar. And since we're just starting you on this market, that's paramount because, you'll hear Ron sometimes, oh, this bar is going to close up, or, we'll be talking sometimes after the session, he'll go, hey, did you see that? Did you see that cluster? Did you see that mini magnet? I mean, so there's a lot of things as you're looking at the bars build that you're gonna notice. And when you start picking up like those little things like, oh, the cluster, oh, the mini magnet, look how that bar is, look how the orders are distributed in that bar. You're gonna start picking up on all those little nuanced things. So that's why we want you focusing on the building of the bar rather than those will come in time, right? Because that
Mm-hmm.
it's like with anything, it starts to become second nature as you look at it, as you see it build. You're like, oh, that cluster is it. Oh, this mini mag. Oh, so you start to just easily read those things. But if we threw simplicity on, like your attention would be, like it would be hard to focus on where you need to focus on at this stage in the journey.
Okay.
So to piggyback off of that, Michelle, you see the image that we're looking at the screen right now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what I look at when I'm trading YM. That's all I look at. Everything I need is right here, which is why when we built your workspace, I told you to build one screen with YM in this setup, and the opposite screen on the other side of it with RTY. Because this is really all you need. Because when we focus on the bar building here, everything is going to happen literally on this chart alone, on the OP10, before we get into a trade. So everything will be right there for you. So when we talk about, the building of a bar, we can see the cluster, the numbers on all this at some point, it's going to have much more significance to you than it does now, than worrying about what the simplicity chart says, because this is going to be first and foremost. The simplicity is just going to be kind of like the icing on the cake at the very end. When you're ready to get into a trade, it gives you an overview of what's really happening on the bigger perspective of basically price movement. And are you going against it?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a reason why I had you set it up this way, because it's easier to see.
Okay. No, that's good. I get it. I was just questioning because you mentioned it, so I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I must ask.
No, that's fine, and I'm glad that you do, and I invite you and everybody else to bring all the questions as well.
So, did you take any trades today?
I did not. Did you take any trades today?
I did not.
If you had been trading, did you get a chance to look at the market back quickly enough?
I did, yes.
Would you have taken any trades today?
So, I have a question.
Okay.
I thought I would have taken, 1 second, I'm just scrolling back.
And which market?
YM.
Okay, so I'll go back to YM.
So, it didn't.
What time?
Wait 1 second. Wait, I just want to get it. Was it once? Okay. Sorry, I saw it. I thought it was YM.
By the way, while we're waiting, if anybody that's in the stream right now, if you have any questions, comments, be great to hear from you guys, so we can kind of get a little more interaction with Michelle, because she is here with us, so we can capitalize on that. And also, please don't forget to hit the like button. That'll help us as well. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Okay, so it didn't have. So the time is 7:36.
So that's 8:36.
Sorry, 8:36.
Pre-market.
1 second.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Sorry, I didn't think it was that one. I think I've confused which one it was.
8:36:31.
1 second. Okay. There is one, but it didn't meet my conditions, so I wouldn't have taken it. So there was one at 8:51:28, so 9:51:28 for you, but it didn't meet my conditions, so I wouldn't have taken that one.
So 9:51.
Sorry, I've got it. 10:55:40 is one, but it also didn't meet all my conditions because it didn't lay a mini magnet or a pore, and it didn't have a absorption X or OPR.
10:51 my time or 10:51 your time? In other words, 10:51 Eastern or
11:55:40 your time.
11:55, so right before the market closed. Or right before lunchtime, before we're done trading for the day, before our session's over.
Yeah.
So 11:55, okay.
But I wouldn't have taken that one. It was a lane 3.
11:55:40, this one right here.
So for me, it's 10:55:40.
Yep. Okay. So it's great that you bring that up, because Lori actually got into this trade. Okay.
Oh, okay.
She did. Now, the reason she got into it is because it had everything that she is looking for on a market read. Okay. The placement of the cluster was crucial.
Because it's on the wick.
Not only it's on
Is
the
that
wick.
what you mean?
Not only it's on the wick, it's right outside.
It's in the ZOL.
It's on the ZOI, correct. It's right outside of the box, almost in it, right?
What do you mean the box? The trapped orders?
The X box, correct.
Okay.
Okay, so let me kind of.
So is that a trade I could have taken?
Does it meet your rules?
Pardon?
Does it meet your rules?
Well, could I take a lane 3 that doesn't meet all of them?
Does it meet your rules?
No.
Then do you take the trade?
No.
Okay, there you go.
But will it ever meet all my rules? Because my rules are so strict that it seems like every day it doesn't meet the rules.
Okay, so let me ask
That's
you
my
this.
question.
You know what my setup is. Did this trade meet my rules?
No,
Did I take this trade?
you didn't trade today.
No, I did trade today. Did I take this
Oh, you
trade?
did?
I did. Yeah.
Oh.
Did I take this trade today though?
Oh, no, it didn't meet your rules.
Exactly.
Okay. Can I ask what trade you did take?
No trades met my rules today, so I didn't get any trades in today.
Okay. Okay.
Now, this trade ended up, winning
Mhm.
eventually. And not only that,
Would I have taken it with Laurie?
that's your call.
Right. Okay.
What do your rules say? Do your rules say you trade what Lori trades, or do your rules say you trade what your rules say?
Right. Okay. My rules
Because
say I trade what I trade so that I
because
can do it.
you
If the room
can,
had to be shut down,
yeah,
I can still do it.
yeah, you can trade what Lori calls if you want,
Mm-hmm.
but understand that you're deviating from your rules.
Okay.
Now, I could have taken this trade too, but I didn't. And I even called that out in the room. I said, Lori, I did not take this trade. I know that this is one of your really favorite ones and you like it a lot. And I said, if I was to take this trade, I would be breaking my rules.
Right.
You know what Lori's response to that was?
Well done.
For following your rules.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I'm getting it. I didn't trade today.
But that's
normally
okay.
I'd be frustrated.
Right.
Where I sat here and I was like, do you know what? I didn't just take any wrong trade. I didn't blow up my accounts. I didn't lose any money. I'm okay.
That's
And I
considered a
can
win.
wait.
That's considered a win. You
Yeah.
followed your rules today. That's a win. And you need to focus on that. Just like Ben mentioned that to you last week, is that when you're in a situation like today and you followed your rules and you didn't take any trades, that's a win. You need to basically walk away today and go, man, I did a great job today.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a conversation with your husband and he goes, did you follow your rules today? It's like, yeah, absolutely. And I did phenomenal today.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. No, I understand. And I like my rules. So, it's,
Yeah, and once once you get the rules down and you get some consistency in following those rules,
mm-hmm.
There might not be like a setup that meets all your rules, but then you start then you start expanding, your like your quote unquote your trade setup. Like you start looking at simplicity. So you're still looking at Lorex, and then you add the simplicity, or you add the LREs, which are part of simplicity setups, and then basically you'll be having trades, every day. But we don't want to go add the Lorex in this setup and simplicity and LREs like all at once. Like this is learning the foundation of Sniper. And then once you get those down and you feel comfortable with them, then we can start talking about simplicity and LREs. And then when you have that arsenal of these are my setups, this is the Lorex setups that I trade, but I also trade simplicity. I also take LREs. So there's a whole bunch of things that we can add. But we just want to start right here with the Lorex, getting you, having you in these sets of conditions where these are my trades, and then learning those and developing patience, then you can take that patience and you can apply it to simplicity trades, because there's lots of simplicity trades, but the good ones take patience. And there's lots of good LRE ones, but those takes patience also. So we're trying to build a good foundation that can be applied for other situations in your trading journey.
Michelle, there's a question for you in the chat. Tramp413 is asking, are Michelle's rules Ron's rules, and is Michelle willing to wait for days for a trade?
My rules, yes, are Ron's rules. Am I willing to wait days for a trade? Day one, I was like, oh, this is not too bad to wait. Day two, I got frustrated, as I mentioned, waiting. Today, I was like, I was happy that I didn't just take any trade and blow up my accounts. And I have to keep telling myself it's a 12-month plan, not a 12-day, 12-week, 12-hour. So, yes, I am happy to wait and not blow up these accounts. Once I've got the rules, I can trade YM, RTY, NQ, ES. I can trade anything. But yes, I am happy to wait because I'm not in a rush. It's a 12-month plan. I do not want to blow up another account. I am done doing that. So if I have to wait days to get that one set up, I'll wait.
Yeah, and again, just kind of, reiterate, Michelle was the one that was asking what I do. And I'm a person who doesn't really feel like grinding the market. So I'm trying to take the highest probability trade I possibly can, knowing full well that I may not take a single trade. And in the elite room today, I actually talked about, there was another trader that we're having a conversation back and forth about CL, and if I were to take a specific trade or not. That was basically forming. And I said no, and I gave the reasons as to why I wouldn't take the trade. And then I immediately followed by saying that my expectations for CL are 1 to 2 trades a week. That's what I expect to get out of that market. So if I know what my expectations are well ahead of time, then I'm not going to be rushing into anything. I'm not going to fabricate a trade. I'm not going to look for something that's not there. I'm not going to, try to rush into anything, because I know that my setup through the testing that I've done only yields 1 to 2 trades a week on the CL market. So, and with that, it also yields to 1, maybe 2, and if I'm really lucky, 3 trades a day on YM and RTY. And if I don't get anything, then I'm okay. It's fine. I'm perfectly okay with it.
So because I don't want to blow up any accounts, I'm happy to wait. I do feel myself going, maybe it's a lane 3. It's okay to take that one, but I don't take it.
But here's the thing. As you become more proficient with all of this, you'll start developing things that you'll see other things that will allow you to read the market better, which will allow you to modify your rules a little bit after you test it. And you know that, okay, so if I modify this rule, I'm increasing my trade count, but I'm also risking taking more losses. Still has a high probability win rate, but am I okay with all of that? So, and the thing about it is you have to be willing to take a loss or 2 or 3 in a row, and then mentally be able to deal with that. And if you're not, then you need to make sure that you have everything working as much to your favor as you can until you can mentally be, prepared and psychologically ready, like Ben used to say, and basically this came from Daryl, have the mental capital to be able to expend that and not have it affect you in a way where you're going to spiral down and literally like self-sabotage yourself.
So there was I can't remember what book I was reading about trading, but it was talking about risk acclimation. So you're coming in with X amount of accounts, one account, 10 accounts. It doesn't really matter. Right. And so every trade we know that we're risking like what $110 with one with one account or with one contract. For trading two contracts, we're risking 220. Now the risks that we're accepting on each trade goes up. Like if we're trading two accounts and we're just trading one contract, we're risking 200 220. If we're trading three accounts with three contracts, 330. So taking these trades, having this slow approach, it's going to get you used to that risk. So say one day you have one trade, you've accepted that risk, you've taken that trade, and say the next day you have two trades. The next day you have one trade. Like you're going to get acclimated to the risk that you're putting out there. Now, if you're operating outside the rules and you're taking a large volume of trades, say one day you take five trades, so you've risked you've risked $1,000 for your trades, and the next day you take 10 trades. Now what's your risk? Next day you take two trades. Next day you take 15 trades. So you're all over the place on the volume of trades and the amount of risk that you're putting on the account. But by only taking a low volume of trades when starting out, you're getting very used to that risk. And then slowly over time, because there will get a time when you get successful and you're getting your drawdown, you're going to start scaling the amount of contracts you're trading, which is you're also scaling the amount of risk that you're willing to take on. So by doing this slowly over time, you're acclimated to the risk that you're taking rather than starting off with a load of risk that you're not mentally able to handle. I don't know that for sure. I know that when I started, like you go up to, let's trade five accounts or um, five contracts, and then you lose, and then you trade six contracts or five. It's just a lot more risk that at the start I wasn't mentally able to handle. But over time, as you're acclimated to that risk, it's really beneficial for you.
It's just like anything. You got to build yourself the comfort zone before you can take the next step, right? Trump 413 asked a follow-up question, or actually made a comment, Michelle, that the reason he was asking the question is because it appears that you might be reluctant not to take a trade for days.
Yes.
Can you kind of expand on that? Just again, it's somebody that's trying to read you, and it's important for you to also recognize, is this something that you're comfortable with, right? And I'm going to let you answer.
Yeah. So I was not comfortable not taking a trade. I was not comfortable not being in a trade. I thought I always had to be in a trade, and I've always thought like that because that's what, I don't know, not what I've read or seen or anything, but everybody's trading and everybody's making money, and I'm just sitting here and I'm not in a trade, so I've got to jump in a trade, and even if it's the wrong trade, I've got to be in a trade. But as I've learned and grown and matured, I have realized I am okay not blowing up my accounts. For me, my goal is not to blow up another account. So for me, I will sit here for days until I can see what I know to be my setup. And you know what? As I say again, I have a 12-month plan. If I just stick to Daryl's rules, on the 12-month plan, and it's going to take me a month to reteach myself, relearn everything, I'm okay with that. I'm okay going slow and steady. because in a year's time, I'm going to look back at this and go, I am so happy it took me a year. You know, I do not want to be resetting accounts in 2023. I am done resetting accounts. So yes, I hope that answers the question. I'll be happy not to take a trade. My instinct says to me, just take it. It's okay. It's missing something, but my finger doesn't click it. It's my head and my heart.
That's great, and that's discipline. And for full disclosure, for everybody that's watching and everybody who will be watching, for those of you who have been following, you know, kind of like my path since the very beginning, which is literally a year to the day now that I've been with Apex, I was that guy, and I was the one that I had to be in a trade all the time because I thought I was going to be missing out on something. Or now the advantage, kind of like fast forwarding to today, is I was very fortunate to have a trader like Michelle reach out to me, find out that she's actually following in my footsteps. I actually did not record what I was doing back then to kind of show what we're doing and recording today, but this is exactly who I was a year ago. And until I had my aha moment, which happened about May of last year, or April of May, or actually June, right before the Wealth Summit, I didn't have this waking up moment, and I had to do this myself. I didn't have anybody coaching me, unfortunately, or to you know, basically what I'm doing for Michelle, I wish I had somebody to do that to me, so I wouldn't have to struggle for 6 months, which may not seem like a lot or a long time, but if you think about 6 months day in, day out, that could take a toll on somebody in a very, very big hurry. So I was able to literally like pull myself out of it, pull myself up by the bootstraps, and just go, no more. This is not going to happen anymore. And when I woke up the following morning, after whatever happened to me, I basically became a completely new trader. And you know, Michelle has been, you know, she's been great. She's done this. I mean, she's gone through what I would like to consider a roller coaster in the last 3 weeks or so. Literally, I mean, she's been through a washing machine, okay, of stuff. We're like in and out of, you know, things and charts, and it's like, you know, all this stuff in a very, very, very short period of time. And I'm sure that she'll end up doing great. But again, just so everybody knows, this is exactly where I was. I mean, I was literally in this exact same position where I had to always like click, 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 click. I had to be in this, and I had, you know, 47 markets that I was looking at and all this. Now, the reason I was like that, unfortunately, my introduction to trading was Forex. And if anybody knows Forex, you're looking at like 27 different pairs all at the same time trying to get into a trade, and you know, so it's a whole different animal. That doesn't apply here, that doesn't work here, it'll never work here. And I will never go back to Forex. There's a bunch of other reasons for that as well. But so yeah, the discipline is a huge factor. I was perfectly okay with taking as minimal amount of trades as possible, knowing that I'm taking the highest probability trades available. So let's see, is there anything else that nope, that was it.
And that's my goal for 2023, is not to have to reset another account.
And that's going to be a good goal to keep. And hopefully we'll get you there. You know, that's the plan.
One day and one trade at a time. We'll get there. Now that we got you on the right markets, well, quote unquote, the right markets, like the ones that's going to be the easiest for you to see what Lori and Ron are talking about.
I know my reward is if I do this well, I can go back to ES.
if you want, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny that I'm seeing that you need like this background that's got this big giant ES on the back, because it's that seems to be like your target or your goal. But I think that once you see what this is going to produce for you, congratulations, by the way. Somebody just passed their 25K eval today. So congratulations on that. you may not want to look at ES ever again.
Okay.
Because you're going to be so happy and pleased with the results that you're getting that it's going to suit your lifestyle in such a way that you're going to be like, I don't have to worry about anything for the rest of the day today because I made I made my goal and it happened in 20 minutes and I can just go do whatever it is that I want to do and come back tomorrow, right? So, ES may be just in the rear view. Right now, unfortunately, it's just sitting right here,
It's on my shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've got your ES over here and you've got your YM and R2Y over here. So, but yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the time and patience. So far, we're making progress.
Well, that's good, and that's
one day at a time.
And that's exactly it. It's basically we break it down, and it's one setup at a time, one trade at a time, one trading session at a time, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So we always have to break it down to its lowest common denominator and build up from there. I think that's kind of like the most important thing. So anything else? I know it's kind of short today, but there really wasn't a lot. I just wanted to kind of catch up for last week and kind of, make sure we keep the finger on the pulse with you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nope, I'm all good, and I live to trade another day.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll be back and we'll do it again.
Exactly.
Ben, anything else you want for?
No, I think so. I know someone had asked about the account that you had signed up for to start the trial, and
Yeah, we haven't. We haven't really.
It's being traded, but
there's no trades in it. There's no trades in it. So yeah, it's the goal was really to just take the best of the best, and until the start of the year, there was really no point in doing anything with it. So we're just kind of sitting with it, and we'll wait to have some better trading days and better trading setups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did, Jake. That's correct. She did take a couple of trades last week. She took some trades that should have not been taken, and we kind of talked about that. And you can watch the previous episode and see what happened with that. So, with that, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. I know it's kind of short and sweet today. Hope you guys enjoyed this little update, and wait a minute. Somebody just asked a question before you guys go. What would be the perfect trade? What would have to?
What's the conditions?
Is that the Ben? Can you read? I mean, you're reading this the same way how?
Yeah, I think he's wanting to know the conditions for the Lorex.
The condition basically is, which by the way just became a new rule for me, is not to trade the last 3 weeks of the year. This was my first year to trade during the holiday season, and I'm not doing that again. Ronex, no, we're not rebranding the Lorex. We're not doing any of that stuff. It's Lori's trade, and I just guys are gonna get me into some hot water here. No. We're not rebranding anything. This is just I basically took what Lori would consider the absolute best. This is, believe it or not, guys, if you watch the Wealth Summit videos on the trading on the Lorex, the trade that I actually look for and the trade that I trade is Lori's absolute best of the best, no-brainer, in-your-face trade. That's what I take, and that's what basically Lori swears by, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. And so I was saying is I'm not going to be trading the last 3 weeks of the year because I learned a lot those last 3 years, the last 3 weeks, and and I learned enough to know that it is definitely not a time to trade. There are setups that show that are the absolute perfect setup that fit all your conditions that lose, and they lost more than they actually won, which is really scary, because we know that that's not really the case. That's not the trend with it, because the rest of the year, it's got like a 75 to 85% win rate, and the last 3 weeks of the year was more like 55 to 65%. So
Yeah.
and that doesn't work, and I'm not going to put myself through that next year. So yep. So like I said, that'll wrap it up for today. If you can hit the like, subscribe button, please, I'd really appreciate it. Actually, we all would appreciate it. And if you can join Lori, Daryl, and myself in the Elite Room every single day, there's a link in the description how to get signed up for the Apex tools and training and all that stuff for free for a month. And also all the training is free. I think I already mentioned that. And with all that being said, thanks again, Michelle, for your time today. Ben, thank you. Thank you for joining me. And
thank you.
Hopefully we'll have a good day. At least we'll get a day or so tomorrow of trading. And I'll get some trades in, and then we'll do another recap again tomorrow. So with that being said, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.